Oh, hello, another series, another episode. What to expect from Red Blue? It's one I just wanted to talk about because I feel I've just been sat looking at Red Blue lists because they actually intrigue me the direction they've gone, which I'll talk about after I talk about like the main direction that they've gone in set five. When you talk about Red Blue, the name that usually comes up, the name of lists they get net decked is usually Sailors lists. Very good player from Canada. Um, is on Dreamborn always at the top. I don't believe he does any social. He does social media, but I don't believe he does like Twitch or YouTube or anything like that. Maybe that's something he should do. But majority of the time, when Red Blue players want to net deck, they look at this in all the 20 lore threads. His name usually comes up as like the guy to go to for Red Blue lists. Famously, he calls his list famously. As famously as it is, his list is called Sisu on Ice because it utilizes the Ice block and the Sisu card, the 8 cost legendary card. So the idea is that you can completely control the board, keep it intact by playing ice blocks down and reducing characters costs um, if they go above two. So Sisu can get down, you can get down with ice blocks, then play Sisu and just do a full board wipe. And it's positive, of course, because you lose quite a lot of tempo when you play Be Prepared. There's only two Be Prepareds in this list. So yeah, it's just famously, I'm sure everyone knows it. I'd say if you were trying to look at tells early on, because a lot of the key components to knowing if it's a Sisu build is uninkable cards, so it's unlikely they're going to be revealed to you unless you wheel someone and you notice they burn a bunch of Sisus, and you can make a tell on it. I think the only tell would be that they run the human Sisu now. It's because an early ice block human Sisu is probably about as effective as playing a brawl. You can see there's only two brawls in there. That's probably just to cover yourself in case you don't find ice block and Sisu, as they're two uninkable cards. I'm assuming is how the play works. When you play against these lists as well, you just make sure to know the likelihood is they only play two Be Prepareds. So if you're playing against them and you've seen one Be Prepared and then you've seen another one, or you've seen one, you can sort of play confidently as a low chance they don't have the other one. So if you want to flood, you can flood a bit more of that knowledge. And of course, as I say, this is not. I'm not speaking in absolutes. I'm not speaking like a Sith. I'm not saying things 100%, but the likely chance is they will only be playing two Be Prepared in these Sisu and Ice builds because they want to utilize Sisu and they don't want to lose tempo by just having to hardcast a big 7 cost song. They might even try and sing it if they can, so they can have their full turn to still play things. But majority of the time, yeah, they'll only have two in there. And another thing to notice as well, if they play the Tipu and the one jump ahead, this is likely to set up for the play. This is, to be honest with you, I don't think this is constricted to just Sisu builds. Just they will play a Tipo out, and then they'll make Tipo sing one jump ahead. To the point where I think if you have, say, access to a card like Fire the Cannons, or let the Storm Rage on, or something like that, it is a good idea to deny them that and make them hardcast it, because Sisu doing its thing, then you sing one jump ahead. It's just a really unsettling turn, I'd say, for you. It's not a very nice turn to have happen to you. So if you have access to remove the Tipo early and it's not going to massively affect your tempo, I'd say please do it. But yeah, besides that, it's still the quantities of Millicent Dragon do tend to differ, but they do end up around three or four, and that's quite bad if you're going to go big Timoteo on your turn, or play a big character like a Mufasa and they just return with a Maleficent, especially if you're playing a build that could utilize Pete and you can't really utilize Pete in that scenario because it's just all character based. Tamato at 4 is always going to be in all of these builds. It's exactly what to expect, and Lady Tremaine between 3 and 4 as well, I'd say commonly you see. So this is his list, and I wouldn't edit it because the guy knows what he's talking about. But of course, people like to tinker. They might have had a few days where they just felt Medusa was performing really well, so they want to put more in there. And then Visions is the new card that you're just seeing a lot in set 5. Mainly, it just keeps the glue of red blue together, because in another Sapphire deck like Blue Steel, where you have a whole new world where you can just use the resources in your hand, then wheel and find a whole 7 new cards. The issue with that in Red Blue is you particularly have a steady income of cards from your Hiram and then from your scrying of Grand Batala and stuff like that, and how far I go. So you don't particularly get a large amount of cards, and there might only be one particular card you're hunting for. So playing Visions of the Future means you could go, right, I really need a Tamatoa, I really need a dime just to finish this game. You play Visions of the Future, you find your dime, you play it, you tap it, you win. So yeah, that's just, it's been a very good card to sort of oil the deck together. And I think majority of the time this is what you'll see. If you're looking this in your red purple player, I guess you could look into the fact that Flynn on 2 is going to be a lot more provocative. It's going to require a stronger response. They still want to get Tipo on 2 because getting you the three law is pretty bad, but also getting the ramp on two is just very good. So they probably want to Tippo into Sisu with an ice block or Grand Mortala to stop your Flynn. But yeah, overall, this is I think what you'd find most commonly when we do bigger events and stuff like that. People have net decked and would have played around with Sisu builds like this. But the only other one to mention, I thought I mentioned, oh, why is that not turning? Is there is some builds as well that are going around utilizing Scar instead. And just from talking to some people, I don't think that all are like this, but the majority of the time, the difference is Scar and Mufasa are being used. And mainly, I'm just going to talk about Scar here, because I think what's happened is the idea of including three ice blocks or four ice blocks, usually three, and then including four Sisus, and now you're including the human Sisus. That's just a lot of uninkables, and it's a lot of combo-y pieces. It requires them to be you to draw the right cards at the right time. When it works best. I think in my opinion, Sisu ice block builds when they work, I can't see any deck that beats them. They are just so overpoweredly good. But I understand you must have, if you play the deck a lot, you must have a majority of games where it's just not coming together. You're getting your ice blocks at the wrong time. You're getting your ceases at the wrong time, and then you've just got all these uninkable cards, and you can't really get rid of them, and it's just looking pretty bad for you. So I've seen a lot of people opt to use Scar builds. You can tend to see there are a few tells. I don't think all of them run Cheater, but maybe a Cheater on two would be a good tell for you. Of course, if you haven't seen any ice blocks and it's been going for a little while, it's unlikely that it's going to be a CCO and ice build. They will play 4B prepared, so once you get the knowledge that it is a Scar build, just keep in mind that they'll probably play 4B prepared because they don't have the ability to reset the board with Sisu in their build. So Scar is very good when someone's played Pete like into Ruby Amethyst, not Ruby Amethyst, sorry, into Amber Steel. If they play the board out, then Pete. You can play Scar instead of Sisu, and clear out the board with your Porp schools and stuff like that, and this one's utilizing Vitalisphere. This is the one that Zacandia played in the final. I think the idea is that you're shifting from I need to get my ice blocks and my Sisu, and I need to get all these little bits to right. Scar is pretty good, and he'll just jump on the board and hit a few things and clear the board that way. And imagine if you played against Amber Steel, you could clear potentially quite a lot of things there. On the flip side as well, Scar needs everything to be exerted for it to work. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So, whereas Sisu could have a good chance of clearing quite a lot of things with the ice block as well. But I believe the core of the deck, and I could be wrong with this. It generally was what I'm going from chatting to a few people is you're changing the consistency of requiring ice blocks and Sisu to Scar is a really good board equalizer. Mufasa is a really good tempo card. Because you play it and it basically demands a response. If not, you get to do double like the ink's worth of stuff. So Facet, as much as I complain about the card, it's actually quite useful. But yeah, early on turns, they're going to Porp Tippo, maybe Porp Chicha, and they'll give that away. If they're playing cards like Vitalisphere and other CCU lists just won't be running those cards anymore. You can kind of get some tells that it might not be the classic CC build. And as well, I've seen another card that's been floating in these lists. It's been the Donald Duck, the 3/4 that will give you one ramp cost. That as well as being quite a current card. I believe it's just in testing, really. I don't see it commonly played that much. But even in my testing environments, locally and on Connect as well, and things like that, I see that card float in and out, which is quite nice because it's quite a good board equalizer. It's very nice for red blue to have a thing on board and it to do something productive, and it quests for two. So that card's just not that card's sort of flowing in and out. But yeah, overall, I think when you're going into a bigger event, if they've inked blue card turn one, played inked the red card, played Portugal. Maybe they inked Dragon, played Portugal. The majority of the time, this is what I'd say a list would expect to be like. And yeah, just it is going to focus on using the ice blocks and the Sisus. Brawls are down, B preps are down, but that's not like they're dropping the consistency. They know how their deck works. They know that Sisu and ice block is very good, so Brawl and B prepared doesn't need to be there as much, and they don't lose as much tempo when they play a Sisu because they still get a character on board, and they still get to quest and they still get to do things. So yeah, this is what a standard red blue list will look like if you just been out of the loop with the meta. And yeah, I hope there's something to gain from that.